before we begin, I want to give the audience some context as to who you are, Sheel. I have some information I found on the internet. Hopefully, everything is accurate here. It says you have a $450 million VC, two exits, one co founder that you met on a train randomly in India.
That's true.
You had a metaverse wedding sponsored by Taco Bell.
Yeah,
You've been in cameos with Justin
it's
Bieber.
true.
You've lived on $1 a day. You have a lot of different things that I've seen. My question is this by design, this life of serendipity, or are you just kind of going with the flow?
I would say it's a little bit of both, right? Serendipity kind of is going with the flow. I'd say like I'm just choosing the fun option when given an option. And I think more people should do that. So I think like I've been fortunate that, um, things have generally worked out. So I think when you have that, when you've been fortunate that way, you tend to make um, more choices that are kind of seemingly random.
So what do you like to do for fun?
I do a lot of traveling,
Mhm.
my wife and friends, and I really enjoy that. I enjoy both the actual travel as well as planning the travel, which is nice. And then I just spend a lot of time with my friends outside. I live in San Francisco, so there's a lot of natural beauty out here, which is really nice. Going on a with my buddies, we're going on a 17-mile walk this weekend. Should be fun.
And so your origin story, I was reading up on it, to kind of really backtrack, not even yourself, but your father, he's from India. And what's interesting enough that's pretty cool is I saw that when he got to the United States, he started selling
Yeah.
encyclopedias, which is which is cool because my grandfather, when he left Cuba, that was the first thing he started doing. He was a salesman for encyclopedias as well. What was one thing that you took from your father? Just seeing him do that, being one of the best salesmen in the country for that. What did that instill in you?
I think, it was really a like whatever it takes attitude. I'm sure it wasn't easy for, a guy with probably a thick Indian accent when he came over to go to, I think he was selling in like Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, not the easiest place for an short Indian guy with a thick accent in the 70s to do it. But it was kind of like whatever it takes. And I think that attitude is awesome. I think that the fact that he was willing to do it is incredible, and it's paid dividends throughout his life.
And that mindset of, I guess, like being your own self-employed, kind of like self-sovereign individual, was that the thing that pushed you to become an entrepreneur? Or is it more so that you kind of innately see problems and you want to go and try to solve them?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think yeah, I come from a like business oriented background, so I always thought that would be my life's pursuit in some way or another. And then opportunities arise, you take advantage when you can.
That's interesting because I feel somewhat the same of like I don't call myself an entrepreneur, but I feel like since I was little, my dad never worked a corporate job. He had his own like consulting business. My grandfather, when I learned about his story, about him being in sales, I never really envisioned myself working a corporate job. And so I kind of just like ended up by default always just wanting to venture out. I had a little drop shipping business in college, and I've always been trying to experiment while working my W-2 job. So I definitely resonate with that, and I think from that point, it's more so I guess more so like the immigrant mentality is just like this is the only way, even though there's multiple ways to I guess be better off. I know your mom still wants you to this day to be a doctor,
Yeah,
so
classic Indian mentality.
yeah, but why do you think that is the case right now? If you're like so successful in what you're doing, is it more so like the prestige of it?
I think it's less about that, and yeah, I guess like some perceived prestige probably is it, and the idea that you could help them with their health by being a doctor.
Okay. So for yourself, it was only you could be a doctor, a lawyer. Is
Not
there
really a
another one that I
lawyer.
was
A lawyer
missing?
was not really an
No.
option to me. It was really just like
Okay.
be a doctor, engineer.
Okay. Got you. So all right, to that point, Sheel, you went against what your your mom wanted you to do. You have a multitude of different ideas that I've seen in different YouTube videos, making Italian pizzas in hotels, dental cleaning businesses, Yelp for professionals. Walk me through how your brain actually generates these. Is it pattern matching, pain points, or is there something else?
No, I think it's hard to say. I think it's just like whatever comes into my head, you like think about, is it worth that worth doing this thing? And you sort of make a decision. And I think I've often chosen the more interesting path.
And for most people, right, they're gonna have that maybe the idea, that intuition, but how, because you've done it multiple times again and again, how are you able to actually take it to a place where it scales? Is it more so that you understand something about paid advertisements or marketing? Like, what is your bread and butter that's helped you, like with the headphone
Yeah.
business, I think around college? Like, how are you able to do this time and time again?
Honestly, I didn't really know anything when I started and kind of learned it all, made mistakes, and that's how you learn. I can't say that I'm an expert now either, but I had a lot of fun doing it and learned a lot.
And if you were to start over, let's say today, what are you gonna do? Are you still moving to San Francisco to work in VC, or you doing something else with the current landscape?
Oh man, it's hard. It's been so good and so fun. It's hard to imagine doing anything else, but I think there's a chance you'd go down the entrepreneur route instead or a different type of entrepreneur, like could be anything really. I could see many different paths, but I'm very happy with the way things ended up. So most likely path would be as a VC.
As a VC. And to tap into one specific business that you had, I believe it was the food service business.
Thistle.
You felt that in the Thistle, yeah, you hit $100 million in revenue. Again, like how did you make this happen? How did you go from 0 to 10,000 and 100,000? Like, what was that thing that got this going? Like, it just seems like surreal,
Yeah,
looking
look, I would
looking at
say
these
first of
numbers.
all, I should get very little credit for this. It was like, a team of people, but it was I think, and not only was it a team of people, it was like team of people doing stuff that I didn't think were the right things to do that turned out to be the right things to do. But I would say, just finding a product that the market really wanted and learning how to market to the right customer. It's the main thing.
And the only way in your case, like to validate that product, you're effectively like calling people, you're emailing people, texting them. Like, what's your way to validate it? Is it cash up front?
It depends, business to business, but certainly, yeah, cash up front is the best way.
You've built all those businesses, but then you pivoted and you went to VC, right? So what made you go to VC? Was it that internship in India that really sparked that interest in fintech? Or is it a multitude of different things?
It's a multitude of things. I think I just felt like there was an opportunity, and it's one of those things where, like, you now connecting the dots backwards, you can say it was, this led to that, and that was all the plan, but that's not really the reality. The reality is I made up the fact that I was had fintech background along the way. Like, like I did, but you could spin
Right.
different things in different directions. Like you could say it was a marketplace business, or you could say it was a fintech business. I just chose to call it a fintech business. So I had that background, and it was just a great place to stake your claim and a great time to stake your claim in fintech.
And specifically what you do like for VCs, right? In your webpage, you have tier one VCs, founders, advisors, strategic partners. You're kind of like intertwined in all of those different things. I guess like, is that necessary for every single VC to have all those moving parts?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's certainly helpful. I think like we think of ourselves as advisors to the companies, but along with investors. And I think, we like to help in those various ways as a partner.
And for yourself, how do you find those great businesses within fintech? Is it, I mean, obviously now I'm sure you have like I forgot there's a term used that Elon uses a lot, but I'm sure you have like pool where deals are coming to you. Like at the origin of it, how are you finding those companies to invest in?
Uh, you know, it It's a bunch of different ways, but, like, you sort of build your network and reputation, and then, in some ways deals come to you, some outbound you do. There's a bunch of different ways. I would say, like, most are introduced to us through a friendly, whether it's, another VC fund, another founder. We tend to get introduced to a lot of companies and that's the most common way. Some folks reach out to us cold, some folks we do some outbound too. We notice we liked a place they worked, heard they might be building something and sort of go after them that way.
And for the network piece earlier on, how were you networking in San Francisco? Because I know you moved over there, didn't really know too many people. How are you getting involved and like growing from a network standpoint there?
Yeah, we are so when I moved here, like you said, I didn't know that many people. But I think it was a different time. First of all, 2012, there weren't, you know, tech was already obviously huge, but not nearly as big as it is today, and you could meet a lot of people relatively quickly. So I just, went out and met folks sort of they knew I was interested in angel investing, and it was relatively easy to meet folks. And along the way, I met some very good folks.
And to that point, right, like with angel investing, I'm a big fan of Robert Kant, and I see he has a site that's called Angel List. Is this, it seems like it's like a marketplace for you to like start your own SPV,
Yep.
etc. Do you think the VC space is like saturated? Like if you were starting from scratch today, do you think it would be significantly more difficult? Do you think it was good timing from your end on to start like around that time you started?
I think it was very good timing on my part. I think the market, it's very competitive now in a way that it was
Okay.
not 15 years ago. Like it's a totally different world. At the time, you kind of knew most of the parties, you knew most of the funds, and now there's just the explosion is crazy. So it's a much more competitive world today. And so, as there's more competition, oftentimes returns suffer, and that's something obviously like we're thinking about a lot.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that because I was reading Tim Ferriss. He's very much into VC. He invested in Uber earlier on, and he says that he was in a very good time, like 2008,
He was
2010,
in a
2011.
better time. He was in the best time. Yeah.
He was in the, the ultimate time. But then, so for yourself, right? Like if you're in this mode of serendipity, I don't know, you have a passion for fintech, you would still do it regardless of the opportunity, although it's less than you did 10 years ago, you would still do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been
So what's like the most awesome thing about it? Is it more so like the connection with people? Is it the money aspect? Like what's genuinely like your favorite thing about it?
I'd say like, yeah, the people are amazing. I think it's just like, it's big enough that I'd say it's like, it's small enough that you kind of know a lot of the players, yet big enough that you have the opportunity to invest in a lot of different companies and like, there's a lot of them. So I think it's like the right size is what I really like about
And in pre-seed, you talked about there's small enough players and there's a good amount of companies to invest in. When you're talking about like pre-seed, I have zero knowledge on this myself personally. How do you analyze a company when it's first at that initial stage?
It's a lot about the founder, I would say, or founders, I should say. I would say like there are a few things we think about a lot. One is really how fast are they moving? Are they in between when I meet them the first time and second time? Have they made progress? Are they, do I just feel like they're moving fast? And part of that is working hard. Like I honestly feel like some people just don't want to work hard and that's totally fine, but don't be a founder or,
Right,
I'm not interested in backing you. Um,
right.
there's tenacity. Are you going to break through walls to make stuff happen when obstacles come in your way, especially in an industry like fintech? There's constantly challenges, whether it's partners, regulation, whatever. Are you going to power through and make stuff happen? That's, a question. And then finally, do you have a superpower in hiring? And that could be a network, respect you have for something you've done. Are you able to hire in a way, great talent in a way better than other folks? And, you are only the founders, a couple people. The company, the team you build is the company you build. So it's really important that you're able to recruit very talented people.
So to kind of summarize that, you bet on the jockey versus the horse, finding people that move fast, have tenacity, and you mentioned that last piece of hiring. I guess for like a pre-seed, for the hiring piece, do they have to just be very good at sales as well and persuasion? Or I mean, guess like nowadays, how do those people hire the best when they're so small at that size?
That's the thing that's challenging, right? Like it's you don't have a reputation for your company yet. You don't have a lot of money. So you have to hire people who are high slope, not yet proven. So, you're not going to hire like a great engineer out of a big company. That's just not likely. You have to find somebody who would be, who's like on the way to being great, and you have to catch them at the right time.
And on your site, and I realized this a couple days ago, on your site you have like a link for a job board. Why is that so? Is that integrated in your business? Like, do you make commission off hires, or what's your like the logic behind that?
Yeah, it's just to offer support to our portfolio.
All right, Shield. So I wanna move on to another piece. I saw that you had a podcast, or you had built a podcast, a media business effectively, and you sold it. What's your take on podcasting? I'm asking for a friend here.
Yeah. Okay, so the way ours started, okay, so this is a long time ago. It's 2015. I had the idea for a podcast. What happened was like I was sick at home, turned on the TV. It was Shark Tank, and I don't think I'd seen it before then. Started watching it, and I was like, this is cool, but it's also very unreal. These are not really like Silicon
Mhm.
Valley companies. These are like a towel with a hole in it that somebody wants to give $20,000 to. It's not really the world of venture capital. What if we made this more real? So, initially it was just me doing all of the interviews and sort of giving my assessment on the company. Ultimately, we grew it to have 3 or 4 people assessing each company, and it ended up being pretty successful. It got acquired by Gimlet, which got acquired by Spotify. I would say early days marketing, it was really a lot of just putting ourselves out there wherever we could. That could be a big one for us was product hunt back then in 2015. We got hunted a lot, and a lot of people got introduced to the podcast that way. It's cool.
Did you like doing the interviews, or you got tired of it?
I loved it. It was super fun. How do you like
You
it? How
loved
long
it?
have you been doing it?
Well, I started about a year ago. I really started taking it seriously like 3 months ago, where I'm just like reaching out to high volume people, and really just getting after it. So I would say realistically 3 months actually doing
Okay.
it. The year before and the year prior, I was in the TikTok live trenches doing personal finance live streams, doing Q&As, did a lot of boot camps, taught people about like compound interest, high yield savings accounts, etc. But it was just like 7 hours a day of live stream to only make X amount of dollars. And the TikTok live algorithm wasn't really generating as much as it previously did. So I just started focusing more time on just the podcast and trying to network, learn from other individuals. So that's why I started the podcast. And honestly, it's been good for me. It's been good
It's
for me.
awesome.
I get to meet a lot of cool people. Yeah. Now, question for again asking for a friend here for the podcast model. Do you feel as a standalone it has legs to be its own business, or do you feel like this is kind of like the outliers? Like it's gonna take a long shot to monetize specifically off the podcast.
Yeah. I think it's hard to build a huge business that's just podcasting, but I think it's a
Mhm.
good avenue, maybe a road into something else.
Yeah, yeah, I've started to realize that as well. It's kind of one of those things that sure I could do a podcast every single week, 5 times a week, but to be in that 1% of the 1%, like the Diary of a CEO or Joe Rogan's, it's very much like okay, well, there's only so many that can do that. And so I've definitely taken note of that from other individuals that I've spoken to. Now, Sheil, I want to talk about some quotes that you have. One of the greatest quotes of all time that you enjoy. So it says, I may pronounce his name incorrect. Lord
Uh-huh.
Hamilton said, "You have to be willing to fall on your head and try things you've never done to the best you can be." When did you last fall on your head?
Ha! So many times I'm like constantly failing at stuff. I mean, like physically, I was like trying to this is not an amazing example, but I was like ahead of my skis on a rock climb recently and was too aggressive. But you have to, I think you have to try. Obviously, you need to take risk into account, but the only way to get there is to try stuff. And like personally in business, I've tried a lot of different things. Some of them worked, some of them didn't work, but I learned from each of them.
In your own life, do you kind of take a mental note of how much you're failing on a per day
Not
basis?
really. I don't really think about
Or
it that much.
no? No. But earlier on, I guess, like, for the audience, we see individuals like yourself that are very successful. How many times have you failed in different businesses, just to give people context?
At least like a dozen times, at least like something I tried or was starting to try. but
Right.
never finished.
And what was the thing that was holding you back in those businesses that you did fail? Was it product market fit? Was it not knowing how to sell, marketing? Like,
I would say maybe the market wasn't there. I didn't do a good job of marketing it. I lost interest, a lot of different reasons.
and to that point, like you mentioned already, kind of the statistics or kind of the things that you want from a founder. But I guess like what's one practical thing that I guess maybe a lot of founders continuously mess up on? Because I know you mentioned tenacity, working hard, those are all very important, but it's like, is there one specific thing besides hiring that also factors into them failing?
I would say it's those things I mentioned, which are like speed, tenacity, and being able to hire. If I think about, those are the ones that are within your control. Then there's like market stuff that's completely out of your control. But I think from a what you can control aspect, those are the main ones. And most of the companies that fail, I can put in that one of those categories.
Roger that. All right. So to end it off on this one, Sheel, you operate at the intersection of money, ideas, and people. At this stage of your life, what does success actually look like for you?
Ooh, I think for me, it's really just like having fun and learning with people I enjoy being around.
So that's your model
That's
forever.
it.
Have fun and okay. And bonus question: do you plan to retire in Florida in a Indian community?
Probably not. Probably not. It's good for my
No.
parents, but not for
Okay.
me.
So what do you want to do when you retire?
It's hard to say whether I ever will. I think I probably won't. I think I'll always keep myself busy doing something
In VC or just whatever, whatever your life takes
wherever my
you.
life takes me.
All right, you heard it here first. Sheila will be somewhere in the metaverse in retirement.
That's right.
All right. Well, Sheila, I really appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much,
Absolutely. Thanks
man.
for
Thank you
having
for all
me.
the knowledge. All right.
Take
Cheers.
care.